Hey, welcome back, everybody. The time now is 9:15 on this Monday morning. It's 60 degrees outside, and we are so happy to have Greg Niblock, attorney and founder of Niblock Associates. He's here explaining what property you can keep if you have to file for bankruptcy. Greg, great to see you, man. Thanks for coming in. I know this is probably in your book.
Yes, it is.
But let's talk first about it today, just in case folks haven't gotten your book yet. Property and bankruptcy, everyone thinks you lose everything.
That's right.
It's a misconception.
It is definitely a misconception. The first thing I'll talk about is if you owe money on property you want to keep, that's called secured property, and it has to be reasonably necessary. Like for your household, like a home, a vehicle, household goods.
Okay, so that's the definition of reasonably necessary.
Right, you can't have a Lamborghini or a helicopter or, you know, jet.
Even though those are forms of transportation, they are not reasonably. Okay, that's the key word, okay.
That's number one. Number two, you have to be able to afford it, even if you put it into a Chapter 13 and pay it out over a period of time.
Okay.
But the big thing people have a lot of misconception about is the things that are paid for or things that you have equity in. Like your home may have quite a bit of equity in it, or you might have a retirement plan that has some money in it. There's a whole list of things that you can keep, and the first category is our constitutional exemptions in Arkansas allows us to keep basically three things. That would be your homestead.
Okay.
And to meet the definition of homestead, you have to be a head of household, and for that to happen, you have to have a dependent at any time during the course of owning that property. So you were either married or had a child or had some other type of dependent living in your home. And then there's an acreage restriction, and it's 40 acres if you live way out in the country in a rural setting, and a quarter acre if you live in the city, in an urban.
Which is pretty typical, right? Yeah, that's something you see in neighborhoods a lot.
And that, it doesn't matter what the value is. So that's a good thing.
Clothing?
Clothing, well, yes, any of your clothing.
That's reasonably necessary, I would argue, right? Yes, okay. Personal property up to 500, what is that?
Well, that would be anything else left, whether it's a vehicle or a ring, a wedding ring or whatever. So that's sort of the downfall of the Arkansas exemptions, and most people don't use the Arkansas exemptions because more people that I talk to have personal property as opposed to the homestead. So then if that's the case, you can drop down and look at your federal exemptions, and there's a whole laundry list of things. Like your homestead, you can have up to $23,675, and if two people are filing, you double that.
Really?
And in the context, you double whatever it is. And then a vehicle up to $3,775. Household goods, 12,000 some odd. You have jewelry of 1,600. A wild card. I love the wild card.
Wait. What's a wild card?
It's $1,250 on anything that you want.
Wild card. It truly, like playing a card game, whatever.
Right. Whether it's cash money in the bank, money in your back pocket, or whatever it may be. In addition, if you don't use up the homestead, which most of the people I talk to don't, you can use up to $11,850 of your homestead as a wild card. So that usually takes care of 99% of the folks that I get to talk with.
Wow, okay, that's good.
So you have your tools of your trade. And then the one thing that I really want to enforce here is, even under the Arkansas Constitution and the federal exemptions, if you have a retirement plan that is protected by the Internal Revenue Service, you can exempt up to $1.28 million.
Whoa!
So please do not rob your retirement plan in order to try to pay yourself out of debt, because you could declare bankruptcy and wipe it out and still preserve that retirement plan. Because, face it, we're all going to get older. I'm 55 now, and I didn't think I'd make it this far, but hopefully I'll make it further. And when we get into our older age, we want to be able to retire and not be dependent on the government or our family or others to survive. So,
you know, the key in all this knowledge, knowing all this, because this is a lot of information to process for folks, especially if they're not, you know, familiar with it.
And some of the words I use may not.
No, I like what you're doing. You're putting it into our terms. You know, people outside of it.
The man on the street.
And that's what you do in your book too.
Absolutely. And if you would like a copy of the book, just give us a call. We'll be happy to mail it to you. Or you can email us. Hopefully the numbers will come up, but let's see. Our number is 1-800-804-9197. There it is right there. And if you want to email us, and that's our website. And then if it's okay, I'd like to talk about why do we as a society do this, allow exemptions. And it comes from a biblical concept back in Deuteronomy where it talked about if their fellow Israelites sold themselves into slavery to another person because they owed debt.
Okay.
After they served their 7 years, the person who had them as a slave, they weren't just to throw them back out on the streets, because if you do that, you'll be destitute and you're going to fall right back into the same problems.
Okay.
So what the Bible told us was that person is to give them as the Lord had blessed them from their wine presses, their grain, and all this other stuff. So give them something so that they can support themselves and not fall back into destitution, or whatever that word might be.
Some great advice, and some great advice, of course, you can find at Niblock Associates. Once again, 1-800-804-9197. Greg, always great to see you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming in, and make sure you call that number to get the free book as well.